Welcome to Aspiring Women. I'm Andrea Wagner, Clinical Nutrition Supervisor at Aspirus Riverview Hospital. Tonight's topic is keeping your balance, and as always, our refreshments reflect the topic. It's imperative to eat a variety of foods from all the food groups in order to prevent falls. The foods tonight focus on protein and calcium, both important for helping keep strong bones. The first food item is mini ham and cheese frittatas. The mini ham and cheese frittatas have 14 grams of protein in them, which is a good source of protein. The next is the cheese quesadillas, which has 6 grams of protein, and the cheese in the quesadillas is an excellent source of calcium. And last but not least is the peanut butter oat bites, which have 4 grams of protein in them. So tonight's foods focus on protein and calcium, which are important for strong bones. It is recommended for the average adult woman to have 1,000 milligrams of calcium per day and about 50 to 60 grams of protein.
All right, so let me introduce some of my favorite singers. I hope that you made it out to the parade on Sunday because they were out there singing at the parade. We have, let's see how they line up here. Here they come. Oh. Here comes Peggy King. Peggy King is our executive assistant to the CEO. And then we have Rhonda Alft, who is an administrative assistant to the VP of Quality. We have Kathleen Orminski next, the director of our emergency room. And then we have Cindy Orzel, our HR business partner. There's Cindy. All right, you ready, ladies? Here we go.
We thought this song was only fitting for a night called Keeping Your Balance.
Ding ding pow, ding ding pow, ding ding pow da pow, ding ding pow, ding ding pow, ding ding pow da pow, ding ding pow, move pow under my feet. I feel the sky pow, ding ding pow, ding ding yeah. I feel my heart start to trembling whenever you're around. Oh baby, when I see your face, mellow as the month of May. I can stand it when you look at me that way. I feel the earth move under my feet. I feel the sky tumbling down. Yeah, I feel my heart start to trembling whenever you're around. Oh, darling, when I'm near you, and you tenderly call my name. I know that my emotions are something I just can't tame. I feel the earth move under my feet. I feel the sky tumbling down and tumbling down. I feel the earth move under my feet. I feel the sky tumbling down and tumbling down. A tumbling, tumbling down.
Now, ladies, if you're really good tonight, I'll have them come back up here. I don't know about you, but I have felt the earth move under my feet, and I have tumbled down, not the sky. So tonight I'd like to share a few thoughts on balance, because you know I like to share my thoughts. We hear a lot these days about how to keep our heart and lungs healthy, but not so much about how to keep our balance. Your balance system includes all the senses in your body that tell you how you are moving, the brain which puts this information together, and the muscles that control your movement. This complex system needs regular practice. As children, we develop good balance by practicing balance activities. We walk along walls, we jump, we spin, we climb. Do you remember hopscotch, jump rope on one foot? I remember all of that. But I reached an age and all of that stopped. I no longer walk around curves. I no longer spin. So in September of 2012, my husband and I went on a wonderful vacation to Germany and Austria. At that time, I really still am, I was a dedicated Y member and exercised regularly. What I found on vacation, however, is that exercising and balance training are unfortunately two very different things. Now, in full disclosure, and not to beat myself up too badly, I had already had 2 hip surgeries at that point, and little did I know I was going to have another one in 9 months. So my gait was maybe a little compromised. But to make a long story short, as I was trotting through the streets with my hands full in Austria, I tripped on a cobblestone and literally landed on my face. Not only was I completely embarrassed while my poor husband was horrified, I managed to smash my face and break off one of my front teeth. To make matters worse, my tooth broke off at an angle. See how attractive that is? And of course, we were only 4 days into a 10-day trip. So I had to go through the rest of my travels with a broken front tooth and a cut lip and very hurt pride. Had I realized what I know now, I would have been doing balance exercises along with my cardiovascular and strength exercises. I was fortunate. Don't I look better with all my teeth? I was fortunate. My fall may have been embarrassing and inconvenient, but it was not life-changing, as many falls can be. So please pay attention, ladies. Working at keeping your balance is important, no matter what age you are. Now, without further ado, I would like to present our 2 presenters for this night. They are both from the Aspirus Riverview Rehab Services. First, I'd like to introduce Elizabeth Ironside. Elizabeth is a native of Wisconsin Rapids. She grew up here, was actually born at Aspirus Riverview Hospital, and attended Wisconsin Rapids schools. She received both her undergraduate and her graduate degree from the University of Minnesota. Go Gophers! Let me hear it out there. Okay. She was attracted, I was all alone. No, Elizabeth and I, we understand the Gophers. Elizabeth was attracted to the field of physical therapy when she had to receive physical therapy in high school. She was hooked by the mentoring, teaching, and coaching she received from her physical therapist. She is a certified neurological specialist and really loves to treat patients with strokes, brain injuries, and she also has experience treating patients with concussions, headaches, and neck pain. After working at a hospital in St. Paul, Elizabeth returned to Wisconsin Rapids and joined the Aspirus Riverview staff, and this happened about 9 months ago. She's married and has 2 sons and a daughter, 2 blue, 1 pink, as well as a yellow lab named Bogey, who managed to cause as much trouble as the children. Elizabeth's favorite color is green, or yellow. If she can find any free time between work and family, she loves to jog, lift weights, and cook. And then we also have with us tonight Carissa Melk. Carissa grew up in Wild Rose, so not far from here. She attended college at both UW Stevens Point and UW La Crosse. She was attracted to the field of physical therapy because she loved how physical therapists are able to help people get back to the things they love to do. Carissa specializes in working with patients with Parkinson's disease and vestibular disorders, as well as performing lymphedema therapy. Carissa has been with Aspirus Riverview for 2 years. Prior to joining us, Carissa was a middle school science teacher. So she's in her 2nd career. Carissa has been married for 8 years and has both a pink and a blue one, a son and a daughter. Her family is currently dogless because sadly their wonderful 5-year-old golden retriever recently passed away. Carissa's favorite color is green, definitely green. And she enjoys spending time with her family as well as hiking and gardening. So please welcome Elizabeth and Carissa.
Well, welcome everyone. I'm Carissa and this is Elizabeth. And Nan gave us a wonderful introduction here. So as you know, we're both physical therapists here at Aspirus Riverview Rehab. And within physical therapy, we have a wide variety of interests. But one of our passions is making sure that everybody can maintain their balance no matter what age they are. And you'll see some of our reasons for that here. So we are so glad that you're here tonight. Thank you very much for coming. Now, if we're going to do a presentation on balance, we first need to answer the question, well, what is balance? When we think of balance, we probably think of the ability to stay upright, right, when you're walking or even when you're standing. But I also want you to think about it as the ability to stay upright when you're doing a wide variety of things throughout your day, including things like going up and down stairs, carrying objects, reaching for things, and even when you're sitting. You need good balance to be able to maintain an upright posture even when you're sitting as well. So balance plays a role in many of the activities we do throughout the day, which is what makes it such an important topic for us. We'll cover a variety of topics related to balance tonight, including the following. We'll talk about why we need good balance, what is normal balance, what causes balance problems, and how you can work on improving your balance, very important, and what resources are available to help you with improving that balance as well. So I'll start with that first question. So why do we need good balance, right? Well, when Elizabeth and I think about that, probably the first thing that comes to our mind is that we want to try to prevent or reduce the risk of falls and fall-related injuries, like what Nan had happen to her. I want to read a couple statistics for you that kind of drive home the idea that falls and fall-related injuries are a very common thing. So this is according to the Centers for Disease Control, or the CDC. So according to them, every year 2.5 million older people are treated in emergency rooms because of fall-related injuries. So 2.5 million in the United States. 1 out of every 5 falls causes a serious injury, such as a broken bone or a head injury. Over 700,000 patients a year are hospitalized because of a fall-related injury, most often because of a head injury or a hip fracture. More than 95% of hip fractures are caused by falling, usually by falling on your side, landing on the hip. And falls are the most common cause of traumatic brain injuries, or injuries to the head. Because falls are so common, the cost of medical care related to falls is staggering as well. So adjusted for inflation, again according to the CDC, the direct medical costs for fall injuries are about $34 billion annually. $34 billion we spend on falls or fall-related injuries for treatment. And hospital costs account for about 2/3 of that care. So needing to get medical care related to the fall is about 2/3 of that care. So I want to see if those numbers kind of ring true for us here. So I want to do a quick survey. So I want to ask all of you to just raise your hand if you or somebody that you know has experienced a fall within the last year. Any of you? Yeah, okay, good. How many of you have had near falls? So times where you lost your balance, but maybe you caught before you fell to the ground? How many near falls out there? Yeah. When I think of near falls, I think of last winter, and I think of myself on the ice or the slush. I had many near falls last winter as well. For those of you who have fallen, how many of you have had an injury related to that fall? Okay, myself too, good. And how many of you have had to have medical care related to a fall-related injury? Well, that counts for myself as well. For example, Nan's another good example here, but for myself, I have slipped on the ice, fallen, and gotten a concussion because of falling in that case too. So falls are very common across the United States, including within our community here.
Excuse me, could you put the mic right up?
Yes. Can you hear me better now? Yes. Okay, good. All right. Thank you very much. Yeah. Okay. So one of our main reasons for needing good balance is to reduce our risk of falls and injuries. One of the big things that can help us to do is to be able to stay in our home or our choice of residence. In order to stay in your home, you of course need to be able to take care of that home, shoveling, doing the yard work, all of that thing, all those kind of things. You also need to be able to get in and out and do things like laundry. All of those things are things you need to have good balance to be able to do. And another very important reason why we need to keep good balance is to be able to keep doing the things that we love to do for as long as possible. And here's a list of possibilities of things that we love to do that require you to have good balance to do them. One of the things that we hate to hear as physical therapists is to have somebody come in and say, oh, I stopped golf last year because I just was off balance and I was afraid I was going to fall. Or I can't pick up my grandkids anymore because I'm afraid I'm going to fall if they get too rambunctious. I know that might be true of my 2-year-old daughter, too. So we want to try to maintain good balance for all of these reasons, reduce our risk of falls and injury, keep you in your choice of home and to be able to keep you doing the things that you love to do as long as possible.
All right, so we wanted to start the evening with a quick little test of everybody's balance here, or kind of a self-check to see if you are normal. So what we would, if your balance is normal, I should say. I don't think I'm normal either, so we're in this together. So we only want you to try these next couple of things if you feel confident doing them and safe. Make sure that you have a chair near you, so everybody who's not in the front row can just use the chair that's right in front of them for their hands if they need to, like the woman in the picture. And our first challenge is called tandem stance, which is that final picture over there that's exactly heel to toe. So being able to stand with your heel right up against your toe. And then the norms that I'm going to show you are with people who stood with their arms directly across their chest, the way that Carissa is demonstrating over there. If that's not comfortable for you, we would rather you have your hands near the chair, or that you choose a semi-tandem position, or just with your feet together. So we are going to, Chris is going to pull up a timer, and when she starts the timer, that's when we're going to go. I want you to stop if you need to move your feet, move your arms, or if you lose your balance or need to touch your chair. That would be when you would stop and note what your time is so that you can look at it when we look at the norms in just a minute here. And certainly don't do this if you're not comfortable with it. It's just kind of a fun thing to give a try while we're here. All right, we'll start the timer in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You can have a seat now. Now we're going to show you what the norms are by age. So El Kashlan did a study in 1998 on healthy adults and looked at the average number of seconds that someone could stand on with their feet tandem, arms across their chest, how long they could do that before losing their balance, moving their arms, the same things that I just talked with you. And as you can see up there, between the ages of 20 and 79, most people were able to do that for a full 30 seconds, with just a little bit, there were a few people in there that couldn't, which show you 29 seconds, so there must have been a few people with a few minor problems. But 30 seconds, and that's all they timed for, was up 30 seconds in this test. So, well, and that's what this research study didn't look at people over 79. The next one for single limb stance does, though, so we'll have some numbers for them. And if you're confident with this, you can certainly try it at home, because as you can see up there, the third column is tandem stance with eyes closed. And that one goes down a little bit as you get older. So closing your eyes makes it harder. But I do encourage you, if you try anything at home, to have a friend or a partner or somebody stand next to you if you do something with eyes closed, because you definitely can lose your balance with that. All right, so then the norms for single limb stance. And this one is specifically for women. The last one said women, but it was actually just for men. But in this study, they looked at how long someone could stand on one leg. So a little bit about the chart. The first column is age, so they did 18 to 39, and then they did it by about a decade. And as you can see up there, that people in there did pretty well. In this study, they only did up to 45 seconds. So if you were up there for 45 seconds, they considered that normal. But the second column is the number of seconds broke down by age group that someone could stand on one leg on average. The plus or minus number is a standard deviation. So for example, women between 40 and 49 could stand on one leg for an average of 40 seconds, give or take 10 seconds. Women who were 60 to 69 could stand on one leg for 25 seconds, give or take 16 seconds. This would tell me that if you are 64, let's say, and you were able to stand on one leg for anywhere from 9 to 41 seconds, that would be considered falling in a pretty normal range, which seems like a really wide range to me. 9 seconds to 41 seconds, that's huge. So is it just fate that Some women can stand on their leg only for 9 seconds, and some women can do it for 41 seconds. Or are these women who can stand on their one leg for 41 seconds doing something differently than the rest of us? So we're going to discuss that a little bit more and try to get into that as we talk about what really makes up balance. Another thing about this study that I think is really important to note is that their exclusion criteria. So that's something that means when they enrolled people, they got rid of anyone that already had a known balance impairment, anybody with peripheral neuropathy, so if you can't feel your feet, they got rid of that, orthopedic conditions that required consultation. So if you have arthritis in your hips or your knees or your back, they wouldn't have tested you. A knee replacement, they wouldn't have tested you. So I think these are very healthy normals, because I know just by what I hear from the audience that there's people here that have some of those different things going on. Hard not to. So then we want to get into, after looking at what normal is, there definitely seems to be a difference as you age. Being able to stand on 2 feet doesn't look like it becomes real difficult, even up into our 70s, as long as we're healthy. But standing on one leg does become more challenging. But hey, why do you care? I don't need to stand on one leg, right? Who does that? Well, you do. So if you climb stairs, you're standing on one leg. Just walking along, you stand on one leg as you switch from the other foot. Running, going up curbs, all of those things are times when you do stand on one leg. So you may not need to stand on one leg like we did here, but you do need your balance to be able to do different things throughout your life. So whether you're in your early 20s or you're the most senior member of the AARP, you need to use your balance every day. So we see different things in the clinic, from young adults through middle age, people that are skiing, wearing high heels, mountain climbing, chasing after kids on slippery pool decks, things like that. Those all require a lot of balance. As you get into the middle age through older age, people still are very active and remain wanting to do all the things they did when they were young, maybe with some old injuries from having been skiing and wearing high heels and chasing after their kids. So similar type things. And then as you become older, things can become more challenging. And this is where we start to hear problems in the clinic more often, that things like stairs become more difficult. I hear people say that they're worried about getting in and out of their house because they have 3 stairs to get in, or that they stopped being able to do their laundry on their own because they can't walk to the basement and carry a basket of clothes. People tell me that they don't go out to the park for a family reunion because there's challenges there with being able to walk on the grass or walk a distance to get somewhere. People tell me that they've had to cancel their vacations, or they don't go out to dinner because they're nervous about different things they might encounter out in the community. I also think it's important to note here, though, that age does play a role in balance, but it's not even one of the top predictors of falls, as we will talk about as we go on. It's a predictor, but not one of the top predictors of falls. We see people in their 70s and 80s that garden, hunt, fish, hike, and don't have any problems with it. So how do I stay upright? There's 4 systems that work together to help keep us upright. The first being your vision. So what you see, the surroundings, help keep you upright. You can scan your environment. The second is awareness of body position, which is sensation and proprioception. Sensation being what you feel under your feet. So the picture of the woman standing in the sand, that's what you feel under your feet. Grass, pavement, things like that. Your proprioception is a little more complex. That's what your joints feel. So your ankle, when you're walking down a hill, like that woman can tell that it's walking downhill. Even if you had your eyes closed, your ankles, your joints would be able to tell you that, as long as you're healthy. And then there's your inner ear, or your vestibular system, which is the ability to tell when you're upright and moving and orients you in space, which we'll get into more about. And there's some critical overlap in these 3 systems that allow you, even if you have a problem in one, the others help take over. So we use all of them together. And then the musculoskeletal system, which is our muscles and bones that also help hold us upright. Finally, the brain is the command center. and it brings all of the information together to send out the info to your muscles and bones to keep you upright. So for example, think about your last vacation to, let's say, Chicago, and you were taking the train system to get from one stop to another. You used your eyes to see the platform begin to move backward as you were leaving the station, but your vestibular system immediately was able to tell you that you were moving. So it wasn't the platform moving. You knew that it was you in the train car that was beginning to move. You saw the trees around you moving more quickly, and your feet and your hips were able to sense, using their sensation and proprioception, to note that you were heading up a small hill, which sent your muscles a message to lean forward a little bit more. And then as you head into a dark tunnel, your inner ear and your awareness of body position helped your muscles balance you when your vision was not there. And then as you approached the deck to arrive at your destination, the train slowed to a stop, and your body, even without a good sense of light, was able to react, and the muscles were able to stop you. So as you can see, there's a lot of things that go into keeping us balanced, yet most of us rarely think about what that is.
All right, so far we've talked about what balance is, why balance is so important. We've tried to figure out if you're normal or not, right? And we've talked about what causes, or what are the main body systems that our body relies on for good balance. Our next question we want to answer is, what causes a balance problem? Well, as you might imagine, balance problems occur when one of those 4 body systems that we just talked about has a problem with it, or an impairment, we call it. So that first body system that we rely on for balance is your vision, right? When we think of balance or vision impairments, you might think of things like glaucoma, macular degeneration, cataracts. Those are all things that cause a cloudiness in your vision or a narrowing of what you can see, your visual field. And that inability to see your whole surroundings can cause you to be off balance. Something you might not think about that we actually do here as physical therapists is that wearing bifocals can sometimes affect your balance as well. We hear people say that it is harder to walk up and down stairs when wearing bifocals because of that difference in seeing things that are near and far. So sometimes that type of corrective lens can have a problem with balance as well. And then think about how your balance is affected when it is nighttime out, or when you're in a room with dim lighting. When you can't see as well, those are times when our balance tends to be more poor as well. A second body system that we rely on for balance, as we just mentioned, is your body's awareness of where it is in space, or your body position. So we talked about that one part of that is your body's sensation, or ability to feel the ground under you, and that peripheral neuropathy is one common impairment or common disorder that causes a difference in sensation. So peripheral neuropathy, if you're not familiar with it, it's a difference or a change in the nerves going to either your arms or your legs. In this case, we're thinking about it as going to your legs. That causes you to feel the bottom of your feet differently, so either you don't have as much sensation, or it feels a little bit different on the bottom of your feet, or you don't have feeling on the bottom of your feet anymore. That can cause problems for people when they're going between different types of surfaces, like if you were walking along a sidewalk and you had to step off into grass. And if you're not able to feel that difference in the surface, that can throw your balance off. We've had people say that they no longer go hunting because they can't feel that difference in the change in terrain when they're out in the woods, and that causes problems with their balance as well. When you have something like an ankle sprain or a whiplash injury, that affects one of your joints, and that affects your body's proprioception. So again, that's that ability of your joint or your body to tell where you are in space. And if your body can't tell quite where it is, if your ankle doesn't have a good sense of where it should be, that can impair your ability to adjust, or in other words, to prevent a fall, or it can throw off your balance. Luckily, those are things that can be retrained. We're going to get to solutions for balance problems soon here too. And having a stroke is another example of a time when it changes your ability to sense, either your sensation or your proprioception, and both of those things can be impaired, and that can throw off your balance as well. A third body system that we rely on for balance, again, is the inner ear, or the vestibular system. So I just wanted to give you a sense of where we're talking about for the inner ear. So on this slide up here on the left-hand side of the screen, of course, is an earlobe. I'm sure you can tell. And then right next to it is your ear canal. Your eardrum is in the middle of the picture. And then on the far right is your inner ear. Your inner ear is composed of two main parts. Here's a bigger picture of it. On the right side of your screen, again, is your cochlea. That's your hearing organ. And right next to it on the left is what's called your semicircular canals, or your labyrinth system. That is the part of your inner ear that your body relies on for balance. So this is the part of the inner ear we're thinking of here. This part of your inner ear is filled with a fluid, which is the pink, represented with the pink in the picture. So normally when our bodies move, that fluid moves, it sends a nerve signal up to our brain that tells us that, hey, our body is moving. And normally that's a very good thing. But there can be things that happen to that inner ear, such as an infection of that fluid in the inner ear, or an infection of the nerve, a change in pressure of that fluid in the inner ear, or movement of crystals. Yes, you really do have crystals in the middle of your in your ear. Calcium carbonate crystals that are normally in the center part of this labyrinth system can get out into the different canals and cause something called BPPV, or commonly thought of as vertigo. Any of those different things that can affect that inner ear cause not only dizziness symptoms, but problems with our balance as well.
And the fourth system that we think of as helping our balance are our muscles and bones, which we think of weakness, arthritis, and poor posture as being the problems here. So one thing that can happen to us as we age is, or just at any time when you're not active, is called generalized weakness. So if you've ever heard the term use it or lose it, that rings true here. An elite athlete doesn't take 3 months off of playing basketball or running marathons to not do anything. So we can't take 3 months off, let's say the winter, to not be active. Or, people will say, I started gardening and doing yard work in the spring, and I noticed that my balance was off because they weren't as active during the winter. So weakness is one problem. Another problem can be arthritis. So it's great to move, but if you have pain and bone and joint abnormalities, it's not as easy, and that can result in balance problems. Specifically, arthritis in the back, the hips, and the knees can cause pain and decreased range of motion that leads to poorer balance. Scoliosis, or curvature in your spine, is something that some people develop at a very young age, and that also causes problems with balance. Lastly, our posture can cause problems with balance too. Being forward flexed with our weight shifted forward just makes it that much easier to lose our balance forward. So is anyone here in the room notice they're a little bit slumped over? Probably not a big deal while you sit here for the hour, but if you do that over 10, 20, 30 years, your balance starts to move forward and makes it more difficult to correct in the other direction. For most people, these are things that we can change or have an effect on to improve our balance through participation in an exercise program, including strength and balance training. So quick review, things that can go wrong are right up here with our vision, our body position, our inner ear, and our muscles and bones. So why do you want to address balance problems? Remember, it's good. Having good balance can help you reduce your risk of falls and injuries, stay in your home as long as you can, and keep doing the things that you enjoy as long as possible, whether that's golfing, gardening, hunting, or playing with your kids or grandkids. One of the biggest reasons we want to have good balance is to prevent falls. So just to make sure everybody's awake and to provide a little comic relief during an hour presentation about falling. So falls happen, but it's never as cute or funny when it happens to us. You saw the kids falling out of bed or into bed on slippery surfaces. All of those things actually do put us at risk of falls. So that's our next topic. After learning about what the causes of balance problems are, now we're going to talk about the risk factors for falling. And I think most of them will seem pretty intuitive after what we just discussed. So the biggest one is actually the first one that we have listed up there. The number one risk factor for falling is a previous fall in the last 6 months. A fall in the last 6 months is the number one predictor of future falls. So that's one thing I think that's important to take away from tonight. That if you've had a fall in the last 6 months, that is something to think about, and think about your balance and whether or not you need further evaluation. The next three things are things we've discussed: balance impairments, decreased vision, and decreased muscle strength. The fifth thing listed up there is taking more than 4 medications, or certain types of medications, specifically medications they call psychoactive meds, which are sleep medicines. It's probably the biggest group, and the other one are specific pain medicines. So things that make you drowsy affect your balance and have that sedative effect, make our reaction time slower. And the sixth thing listed up there are walking problems. So walking problems, or as PTs call them, gait impairments. Are you slower than your peers? Does your walking appear painful or off? Do you need to use a walker? Things like that put you at an increased risk for falls. They know that these are big indicators that you may have a fall in your future. Other risk factors, there's a laundry list of them here, but I do think they're important because many of them are treatable. But depression, dizziness, orthostatic hypotension, which is when your blood pressure drops when you go from laying down to sitting or sitting to standing up. Most people then note that they get dizzy or lightheaded, and that can result in falling. Being over the age of 80 in itself is a risk factor. Being female is a risk factor. Having low body mass index, so being lightweight, is a risk factor. Urinary urgency, so if you need to get up and go to the bathroom quickly, that puts you at a higher risk for falls. Arthritis and pain, and then diabetes, which can cause bone deformities, blood sugar changes, which can lead to dizziness or lightheadedness, or peripheral neuropathy. All those things put us at risk for falls. Does anyone here have none of those risk factors? Oh, maybe the camera guy. But I don't think we should see too many hands because everyone here is a woman, and probably most of us have more than one of these risk factors. So I think it's important to note you're not alone.
All right, so we just talked about all of the different problems that can occur that cause problems with balance and all of the different risk factors for falls. So you might be feeling like this right now, like, should I just give up? And of course our answer is no. No, we want you to be like this guy walking a tightrope here, right? When he's about, about 85 there, yeah. So no, we don't want you to give up. You know, what we want to talk about next are what are some of the things that you can do to try to reduce that risk of falls, now that we're aware of what makes you at a higher risk of falls. So we put together a list of some of the modifiable risk factors. So of course there are some things on that list that we just went through that are not modifiable. We can't change being female, of course, we can't change our age, but there are lots of things that we can do to reduce our risk of falls. And the number one thing we think of is working on any kind of balance impairment that you might have, or any kind of problems that you have with balance. So you may have gotten a good sense of whether or not you have problems with balance by our 2 tests that we did before with our timing. You may have a sense if you have problems with balance just by your ability to do things around the house, or if you've had a fall in the past 6 months. Again, that's a big risk factor for falls. We will go through a couple general balance training exercises that you can do at home. If you feel like you are having more problems with balance than you can address by just some general exercises, we'd really encourage you to consider getting a referral for physical therapy. That is one of our specialty areas, something we would love to help you with too. A second way that you can reduce your risk of falls is to work on any muscle weakness that you have. Again, we need to have good strength in our muscles and our bones in order to maintain our upright position. And by weakness, we mean not only aerobic, making sure you're doing aerobic training, but making sure you're doing strength training as well. And we find that not enough women get a good strength training workout into their normal workout routine. We're either not lifting strong enough weights or heavy enough weights to gain something from it, or even using body weight support. So I want to encourage you to think about doing a strength training routine as part of your exercise routine. And again, that's something we as physical therapists can help out with as well. If you have any type of vision impairment, including the ones we talked about or other ones, I want to encourage you to go see your optometrist or an ophthalmologist, or make that part of your regular yearly checkups, because that is plays such an important role in maintaining your balance. So make sure that your vision is as good as it can be. If you have more than 4 medications that you're taking, again, that's one of those top risk factors for falls. If this applies to you, I would encourage you to talk with your primary care provider or a pharmacist about trying to reduce those medications. One other thing I want to mention is that sometimes we end up having more than one source of medication. So you may have gone to your primary care doctor and gotten a few prescriptions for different things. Then you ended up having to go to the urgent care or the emergency room and you got another prescription. And then you joined your friend over at the health and nutrition center and picked up a couple herbal supplements. So you may have multiple sources of the medications you're taking. I encourage you to make sure that there's at least one person, maybe your primary care provider or a pharmacist, who's aware of all of the medications you're taking, including any herbal supplements. That way they can help you to better manage those medications, perhaps reduce the number you're taking, and make sure that there's no side effects in interactions between those that might put you at a higher risk of having a fall. Depression is another risk factor for falls as well. And again, I want to encourage you, if that's something that you're experiencing or somebody else is experiencing, I encourage you to talk with a doctor or another healthcare provider about that, because that does, again, place you at a higher risk of falls. Dizziness is another risk factor for falls, and again, that relates to things that might happen with your inner ear, as well as things like side effects of medication. There are many sources of dizziness. If you're experiencing dizziness, I encourage you to start by talking with your primary care provider, your doctor, about that. And if you're experiencing dizziness that seems to be coming from the inner ear, they might refer you to physical therapy, to one of us. There are many different treatments that we can offer for dizziness as well. Orthostatic hypotension, again, that's that change in blood pressure that we get when we go from laying down to sitting up, or from sitting to standing up, that can cause dizziness symptoms and make you off balance. There's a variety of solutions for this. I would encourage you again to talk to your doctor about it. There may be medications that you can take. There are also simple things you can do, like making sure that you're getting enough fluid in you, making sure you've got enough water in your system, doing a little bit of hand or leg movement before you sit or before you stand up, which can help to get that blood flowing and reduce that change in blood pressure. And just moving more slowly from sitting to standing up, or from laying down to sitting up, can help to reduce symptoms from this too. If you have incontinence or urgency, needing to go to the bathroom urgently, this is something that physical therapy can address as well. You may be aware, if you went to the south of the border presentation, correct, that there are physical therapists, including in our clinic, who are specialized in working with the pelvic floor muscles to help reduce this incontinence or urgency, and that can help reduce your risk of falls if you're not having to go to the bathroom as urgently. If you're having arthritis or pain, again, I'd encourage you to talk to your doctor about that. There may be things that you can do to help, and there are things that we can do from physical therapy standpoint as well to help with these things, and again, improve your ability to move freely. And finally, if you have diabetes or you know somebody who does, there are many ways that diabetes can affect our balance as well, including with peripheral neuropathy. That's something that can be often addressed by your doctor. So what's the common theme here? See your doctor, right? And address that. And secondarily, there are many things on this list that we as physical therapists can help you with as well. Besides the things that you can do for yourself personally, there are also ways that you can change your home environment to reduce your risk of falls. There's a brochure in your folder that says Checklist for Independence, I believe, or Maintaining Your Independence, that has a real brief list of some of these risk factors that you can change, as well as a brief list of things that you can change about your home environment that make it a safer environment. In the back of the room, I'm going to hold this up by the colorful flowers over there, there's also a checklist here that says Check for Safety, a home fall prevention checklist for older adults. And this has a much more detailed checklist that goes through a lot of these tips that I have up here. So as we go through these, if you feel like this is something that might be relevant for you or somebody else at home, I'd encourage you to grab this brochure near the entrance on your way out today. So things that you can do at home to make your home a safer environment for you would be to make sure that you have clear pathways between different areas of your home, that you're not having to walk around a lot of furniture, and you have a clear path to get places. Make sure that you secure or remove any loose throw rugs. This may be something you heard before. Throw rugs are a tripping hazard, so you need to make sure that they're either going to stay on the ground for you or that you pick them up and move them. Make sure you secure any wires or cords that might be loose. Again, it's a hazard for tripping. Fix any broken stairs or railings. Of course, a railing's not going to help you if it's not fixed, right, or if it's not steady. Consider marking the edges of your stairs. That's what's shown in the upper right corner of this slide here, is a marking on the edge of the stairs. That can really be helpful in allowing you to see where one step ends and the next one begins. Making sure that you have good lighting, so well-lit rooms, not a dim environment, and that your lighting is accessible. So if you have to get up in the middle of the night to use the bathroom, you've got a light right there that you can turn on to be able to see better in that room. Making sure that your household items are within reach is another thing you can do. I know for myself, I've got lots of upper cupboards, and I have, that vase way back there that I have to stand up on a chair and reach, to go get. That's, of course, a risk for falls, right? So trying to make sure that the things you use commonly or your everyday items are within reach and you don't have to put yourself in that situation to get them is a big thing you can do. And then consider installing grab bars next to your shower or your toilet at home. That can make a big difference in making sure that you can safely get on and off the toilet and in and out of your bathroom or bathtub at home as well. Finally, there's a couple other thoughts here on things that you can do to reduce your risk of falls. Consider what you wear. Consider wearing shoes with good treads, not our high heels that we love, right? That makes a big difference in falls as well. And then consider using an assistive device if needed. So by assistive device, I mean a cane or a walker, or even a walking stick when you're out hiking on a trail. Those are things that I'd like to encourage you to think of those as things that can help you to stay safe and to keep doing the things that you love. They can be very helpful in preventing imbalance too. And if you're not sure what type of device would be helpful to you, that's a good time to ask for a referral for physical therapy because we can help to determine that as well. And then consider how you would get in contact with somebody if you did have an emergency, or in other words, if you did have a fall at home and you were having difficulty getting up. Are there emergency numbers located where you can see them easily? Consider having a phone near the floor that you can reach easily if you do have a fall. And consider wearing an alarm device, such as a life alert or a lifeline. Alert One are all examples of emergency devices that can be used in case of a fall and can be very helpful. And while I did encourage you before to talk to your doctor about a lot of things too, I did mention physical therapy as a good consideration or a good referral for reducing your risk of many of those factors as well. So we are experts in exercise. There are many things that we can help you with, including helping to maintain a healthy body weight and strength training, as well as specific balance training as well.
All right, so a general exercise program that we're going to go over is great for prevention if you're currently healthy. And as Carissa pointed out, that if you have concerns about your balance, then we really want to emphasize that you should call your doctor to get a referral for physical therapy if you think there's things we can do. And I would push even harder that if you note that you're having dizziness, and you talk to your doctor and they don't know what it's coming from, that you then maybe even tell them that you'd like to see a physical therapist for your dizziness. And these exercises we're going to go over may in the end be appropriate for you, even if you do have a balance problem, but an evaluation is a first step. In addition to the exercises we'll go over, there is a lot of research out there on ways to improve your balance. And most of these are low cost, and many of them are in a group center, or in a group setting, and available to community members. A few of the more interesting ones, I think, are Tai Chi and dancing, specifically ballet dancing. But it's been shown that, and it's not ballet dancing the way that someone in the New York Ballet would be dancing, but it's good for your balance and can be an interesting way if you're looking for interesting ways to improve your balance. The Stepping On is a program, and they actually have that in Wisconsin Rapids through the, and there's a form in the back that if anybody is interested in that program, they can pick up on their way out. There's strengthening exercises that can help, they've found, and even getting more sleep helps your balance and reduces your risk of falls. So then we're going to start with going over some balance exercises. So in your handout is the list of exercises that we gave you. We put in a few extra ones here as we'll go over them. But again, that same reminder that we want to keep you safe no matter what. You can probably do these exercises and keep yourself safe. I would always encourage you to perform them near a support surface or with a chair behind you that you could sit down in if you start to lose your balance, or put your hands down on if you lose your balance. Otherwise, have someone next to you. So the two balance exercises we are going to teach you are the two that you did at the beginning of the hour. The most challenging way Chris is going to show you first is the being full heel to toe, strict tandem, arms across your shoulders. If that one is too challenging, the next one would be arms at your sides. And after that, out there. All those ways make it a little easier. And then if that's still too challenging for you, then we would recommend that semi-tandem position, or with your feet still one forward of the other, but a little ways apart. It gives you a wider base of support and makes you more steady. That's what's listed in your handout there, and it shows you the 3 different arm positions we would recommend you trying. If that one's still challenging, the third way that you could do it is just with your feet together. So working on keeping your feet closer together, and again, choosing one of those arm positions that is appropriate for you. And we would encourage you to work up to 60 seconds. And then if one of them gets easy, you can certainly move on to the next one. So if you're doing the feet slightly apart, start to move them closer together as things get easier. In a few pointers, things that seem to be convenient for people to do these balance exercises, people will tell me they do them right away when they get up in the morning and they go down to start their coffee. So they press the button on the coffee machine, and then they stand there on one leg for a minute, the other leg for a minute. Another place is brushing your teeth. And I think the best thing about that is so many people have electric toothbrushes now that even have built-in timers. So you've got 30 seconds, 30 seconds, 30 seconds, 30 seconds. So it's a good way to challenge yourself and switch to the next leg. And that would be if you're getting good enough that you maybe don't need the counter. But even if you're brushing your teeth, you can still have a hand on the counter and work on your standing. All right, and then we're going to move into the strengthening exercises.
So the second page of your exercise handout has a few different strengthening exercises that we recommend. We chose to focus on 2 specific muscle groups, and we're going to start actually with your ankles. We chose your ankles because you need good strength and mobility in your ankles in order to keep your balance. When we start to lose our balance, our ankles are one of the first places in our body that bend in order to help us to keep our balance. So we want to keep that very strong. So there's a couple different ways that you can do ankle exercises, and I would encourage you to kind of to try this one with me here in a minute since it's a new exercise. So first one would be a sitting heel raise, so just raising the heels up and then raising your toes up, so kind of rocking back and forth with your heels and toes. This can actually be a great strengthening exercise. You can probably feel your calf muscle working in the back and the front of your shin working in the front here too. If you feel comfortable and you want to try this standing right now, feel free to stand up, and we'll do a couple standing exercises with this. Again, if you feel like you need support, I'd encourage you to be by a sturdy counter or a chair when you do the standing version of this exercise. The foot motion is very similar. It's just raising your heels up and then rocking back onto your heels, not too far rocking back, but enough to pick up your toes a little bit. So raising your heels up and then rocking back and forth. Okay? So a very good ankle strengthening exercise here. I like seeing you all rock back and forth. All right. Our next exercise, you're welcome to stay standing here. Our next exercise is going to focus on your hip muscles. This is another muscle group that we want to be strong in order to keep our balance. Our hips really help to support our whole lower leg and help us to keep balanced. So one good way to strengthen your hip muscles, I'm going to point out just on the left side, and Elizabeth is demonstrating here, and that is to wrap the band that you have around your legs. So she's got it wrapped around her knees there, so that it forms a circle, and then starting with your knees together and then spreading your knees out. This is actually a good way to strengthen, going back as you move back and forth. Good. Now if you are comfortable standing, another way to strengthen is to do some kicks with the legs. So on your exercise sheet, the first kick that's shown is a kick going backwards. So again, if you feel comfortable trying this, I'd watch out for the people behind you here. Yes?
Is this tied?
It's not tied right now. The one,
No, I know that, but...
Yeah, on the picture on the left, yep, it can be tied or it can just be held in place too. You could just cross it and hold it in place.
There, or her legs, that's gotta be tied.
Yeah, yep. Yep, on the right it would have to be tied together, yes.
This works.
Yes, and that would work for that, yeah, exactly.
So the question was, can you tie the hands together? And yes, just double that.
Exactly, good. You got some good walking. All right. So I see some nice kicks here. Very nice. I want to just give you a couple tips for these two standing exercises, standing kicking exercises. So the first one on your sheet is not pictured up here, but on the top left corner of the exercise sheet in your handout is a picture of a kick going backward. When you do this one, you want to try to stay as upright as you can, so you're not doing a pirouette on there, but you're trying to keep your trunk upright and just use your leg muscle to kick backward. It is a good one to do without the band around your legs. You can get additional strengthening if you take the band, tie it together in a loop, which was the question that was just asked. Put it either around both legs or around a sturdy table or chair so you can step into it, and then pull back against it. Another way to strengthen then is to do a side kick, which I saw a lot of you doing here. This one, again, you want to try to keep your trunk upright. We're avoiding the side tip or the side pirouette there. And you're just moving your leg out to the side, trying to keep your toes pointed forward. Again, using a table or a sturdy surface, a countertop, or a very sturdy chair for support if you need it.
In the last exercise in your handout, and we have two up here, two versions of it, is an exercise for strengthening your postural muscles. So this exercise works to strengthen your scapular stabilizers, or just the muscles that are between your shoulder blades. In the first exercise, you would take the band, wrap it around your hands a couple of times, and then pull it out to the side, pinching your shoulder blades together. Keep your elbows in and just rotate your shoulders out to the side. And the whole time I want you to think about pinching your shoulder blades together. And notice how Carissa isn't pulling her shoulder blades up into her ears. These muscles up here are almost always very strong. It's the muscles in our mid-backs that tend to be weak and get stretched out as we sit in that hunched over posture at our desks all day, or working in the garden, or almost everything we do is bent over. The second exercise really targets those same muscle groups, and it's just a variation. You pick whichever one's easier for you, however you have your band to use. This one you could do with a partner, or you can secure it into a door. If you wrap it around the door handle and then close the door, make sure that you close it in the way that it latches and that the door won't slam out into you. So I always do it on the other side of how the door opens. And then you would just pull your shoulder, there we go. She's gonna secure the chair for Carissa. And she's just pulling her shoulders back and squeezing her shoulder blades down and in. One thing I like to think of is trying to put your shoulder blades into your back pockets when you're doing it, to make sure that you're not overusing your upper shoulder muscles. In whichever exercise you pick, you wanna do about 10 to 20 reps. You know, if they're easy, certainly do 20. If they're a little harder, you can do 10 and rest and do another 10 and work up to that 20.
All right, we want to wrap up our presentation here with just a couple other ideas on community resources that are available to you. Now, I don't know that this part of our presentation got included in your handout. Is this in there? Okay, I'm thinking not, yeah. So I'd be happy to bring this slide back up again if you wish to write down anything here in a minute. But we do have some wonderful community resources available to us. We did mention the Aging and Disability Resource Center earlier and their program Stepping On, which is focused on balance training and helping you to be safer at home. It's a wonderful program. There are some handouts on their upcoming sessions of Stepping On that are located on the back. She's displaying them for us back there right now. That I'd encourage you to pick up if you're interested today. There's also the Lowell Senior Center, which offers lots of different exercise type classes, which can be excellent for balance and strengthening. The YMCA, Shape into Fitness, yoga studios in the area offer both strength training and balance classes. And the YMCA in the Mead Inn here offers swimming as well, which can be an excellent way to strengthen as well. So, in conclusion here, we've talked today about what balance is, what are the major body systems that contribute to our balance, what are some of the things that can happen that cause problems with our balance, how we can fix those problems or reduce our risk of falls, and some of the resources that are available to you. We've gone over the general balance and strength training exercises that I hope will be helpful to you. The main thing we want you to remember tonight is that balance is our key to staying active over our entire lifetimes. It helps us to stay in our homes and to be able to continue to do the things we love to do. So I want to encourage you to address all of those modifiable risk factors that we talked about, all the things you can change, including actively participating in both a balance and a strength training program as well. And to consider consulting with one of us, a physical therapist, if you are concerned at all about falling. There is a list of references here. I do want to point out that the CDC, the Center for Disease Control, has a program called STUDY, S-T-A-D-I spelled, that has a variety of different resources available. That is where our handouts on the check for safety and the one in your brochure or your folder came from today. They have a variety of other resources available to you as well. And with that, we'll open it up for questions. Yes.
I have a number of friends that have vertigo,
Yes.
so that affects their balance, and they have a number of interesting solutions to solving it. Some people get their ears cleaned out. Does that help?
So the question, what you're saying is that you have a number of friends who have vertigo or problems with that. So I will say vertigo is the symptom of having the room spin around you, that room spinning sensation, and it can be caused by a variety of different things. So your question is, does getting your ears cleaned out help with that? Could be a possibility if there's something going on with buildup of fluid or pressure in the inner ear. Most often, that symptom of the room spinning is associated with BPPV. That's that crystals being out of place in the inner ear, and that movement of the crystals causes that vertigo symptoms. That's something that we love to address through physical therapy, something that has very good solutions, and we'd love to help
I
with.
had a multi-part, because today somebody gave me garlic drops and told me to put them in 3 drops in my ear and then rub my ear. Elizabeth, my therapist, did not give me this.
I don't know the evidence behind herbal supplements and stopping dizziness. I can't say that it's not out there, but it's not what I know. And that's all I can speak to. And I think those are all solutions for earwax, which certainly can cause pressure changes, and I think they can sometimes make the feeling of being lightheaded and dizzy more magnified, because I do hear people say that they get more dizzy when they have sinus symptoms or pressure buildup in their ears. So I certainly think there's something to that, but the specific vertigo of room spinning, probably not going to change that. But symptoms often, or problems often have multiple causes. Another question?
I've heard from a couple of different people that actual hearing loss could be a cause from falls. Have you heard that before, besides like dizziness, just hearing loss in general is a cause?
So can hearing loss cause falls? Well, as Carissa showed you the inner ear there, and your hearing organ and your vestibular system are right there together. So the same nerve that can affect your hearing also affects your vestibular system. So there are people that don't have any problems with dizziness, never complain of dizziness, but do have falls-related problems because their vestibular system has been affected. And the only way that may come out is with the complaint of hearing loss. So it certainly could be. Hearing loss doesn't cause falls usually, but they're so close together. They work together. We hear it all the time that I'm dizzy and I had some hearing loss. And so those two things go together. But you don't necessarily feel dizzy. And so those people might just say, I have hearing loss. And I'll let Carissa say anything else if she has more to add. Okay. Another question?
Is the difference between loss of balance and vertigo? One is the room spinning, and then how do you define loss of balance?
Yeah, yep. So the question is, what's the difference between vertigo and loss of balance? Yeah, so vertigo again means that room spinning sensation, which might cause you to lose your balance. But they are kind of two different things. You know, you can have that room spinning sensation, but still keep your balance. Although you are more likely to have a loss of balance because of it. We think of a loss of balance as any time that your center of gravity gets shifted and you're having difficulty getting back to center. So a loss of balance can just cause you to be off balance and have to correct it, or a loss of balance could lead to a fall.
Yes?
Yeah, if you do have this room spinning, what can you do at the time? I mean, you can't go to a therapist right away. What can you do to stop it? Sit down. Sit down. Sit down doesn't help. Close your eyes doesn't help.
Right, closing your eyes probably doesn't help. Decreasing the amount of movement you're doing sometimes helps. And getting a referral to try to see somebody quickly usually helps. The kind of dizziness that we can usually treat quickly is a dizziness that people say tends to come and go. So they get it really bad when they lay on their left side, or they tip their head back to wash their hair, or they're gardening. That's the kind of dizziness that we can usually help. So I would say to those people that are feeling extreme dizziness where they don't want to do those things, don't do those things until you can see us. And we do try to fit in those people as soon as possible. I know there are videos out there on YouTube about trying to treat it on your own. I don't recommend that right away until somebody assesses you and can say, yeah, this is probably what's going on. Yes?
I'd like to testify. I can testify to all of that because when I was still working about 10 years ago, I got one of those in the morning. I could barely get to the phone to get the sub. I had to crawl. It was so bad. But then afterwards, I found that, it gets better the next day and the next day. But then I found out about physical therapy, and I went, I was in a different place, but, they did the thing with the head, and it helped 95%. It was wonderful. Now I just have like benign positional vertigo, and like in my bedroom, it cannot be pitch black. I cannot walk anymore when it's pitch black. I have to have a little ambient light to see. I just can't do it. But I'm fine other than that. I would say if I walk at night, I have to have a full moon.
Well, thank you for that. We appreciate hearing positive things about physical therapy, and hearing it from your friends is great. I think there's a lot of people out there that don't know that PTs do treat dizziness and can treat dizziness. There are certainly kinds of dizziness that we can't treat and we can't help. But when it's something that we can treat, we would like to be there to help you feel better. Was there a question in the back over here? Go ahead.
She just kind of said it. I have the BPPV, but I take Meclizine. So do you guys do manipulation? I have very bad arthritis in my neck, which I can't. So is there anything you could do with next medication?
Yep, so it sounds like the question is, you've got the BPPV, which is the benign paroxysmal positional vertigo, so the room spinning sensation that you can get with a change in position. And you're saying that you take Meclizine for it, and the question is, can we still work with you with that? Yeah, so Meclizine is a common medication that can help to reduce those dizziness symptoms, and can be helpful, to just help you get through that dizziness. We certainly can still do treatment, and I'd really encourage you to consider seeking treatment, because we may be able to get rid of not just the symptom of dizziness, but the source of the problem, and help reduce that future occurrence of it. If you have any concerns, a couple of you have mentioned that with the treatment for BPPV, we do some neck positioning maneuvers. If you've got arthritis in your neck or difficulties with neck movement, there are different techniques that we can use that reduce that amount of motion you need in your neck. So we can definitely accommodate for that. So.
What did she say she took for dizziness?
It's called a medication called Meclizine.
What is it, methylene?
Meclizine, yeah, Meclizine.
And it just kind of it can, for some people, take away the feeling of being dizzy. It doesn't solve the problem, but it can significantly reduce the feeling of being dizzy. And I hear some people that say they take it, they feel fine, and I hear other people say they take it and it makes them groggy or feel off, and so it kind of depends from person to person whether or not it's a good thing for you to take. And it's a prescription, you'd have to talk to a doctor about it.
Any other questions for us?
Well, thank you all for coming out. We really appreciate you listening to us.